Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today we're bringing you a right for you, wrong for you review on Vagrantsong by Weird Games. A game I have actually been highlighting, hyping, and talking about for some time here, and now that West is full-time team member, staff member, employee?
Yeah, buddy!
Here at Quackalope HQ, we are going to be bringing back some of your favorite, most demanded series, which Right For You, Wrong For You is absolutely one of those that we're trying to get back to a
100%.
regular weekly schedule. So if you're excited about that, leave a comment down below. Let us know, have you already played this game? Are you looking to get your hands on it? Because it is insanely hard to find. And what other games would you like for us to run through the ringer? In this format, we take a close look at whether or not a game works for us and whether or not that game might work for you. We analyze 7 different categories that I personally look at when determining whether or not I want to add a game to my personal collection.
Fair.
Those categories are, and yes, I do have a fancy little yellow notebook.
Who wouldn't?
We're going to look at the format of this video.
Format of
the
this
game.
video.
That's the top line, though, and I read it confidently.
You did so much confidence right off the gate.
We're going to go ahead and take a look at the overview of the game. We're going to talk about the theme. We're going to analyze the accessibility. We're going to break down the gameplay.
Yep.
We're going to take a sniff test of the modes of play, discuss the innovation, take a swift strike at the price, and finally, give you our personal determination whether or not this game was or was not right for us. But before we get to that opinion, let's go ahead and start talking about Vagrantsong.
Sounds good.
Wes Todd,
Yes.
one of the greatest names I've ever heard.
Well, it is very nice.
What is Vagrantsong? Let's give an overview. What's the
overview.
structure of this game? What's happening here?
So basically, we are vagrants.
That sounds like flavor text.
It does.
Yeah.
A bit of that. And we are on this train, and it is moving down the line, and we find ourselves in cahoots, in agreement with these Haints, i.e. spirits. Now, a spirit isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're good people. They just need to be reminded of their humanity.
In this case, they're all evil because they've all forgotten their humanity. This would be described as a boss battler. It's got some elements that do feel very dungeon crawly, with the way that you explore the tiles, the way the room actually develops, but you're not shifting from tile to tile. Instead, you're going to be facing down from, I believe, 20-so chapters,
roughly,
along
yeah.
with the little expansion packs and stuff that we have that mix that up a little bit. You're going to be facing down various different types of Haints, trying to reconvince them of their humanity. And you'll do that through a variety of different mechanics.
Yes.
Primarily working around a core system of actions you need to take, or damage you need to deal, or let's say gentle reminders, whether those come through fisticuffs or other messages of humanities like music that you can play or a dog that can show up next to it. You will slowly bring life back to the forgotten and forbidden souls here on the train track.
And one of the unique things about it is that while you're giving them back humanity, there will be a certain point where that humanity breaks, and then you'll go through a break track, and that will cause other things to happen on the actual train itself. Sometimes it might cut off certain cars. Oftentimes that is part of the game mechanic in and of itself.
There's 3 core things happening here when it comes to the actual boss battling system, and Vagrantsong does these 3 things really well. You have unique characters with asymmetric powers and their own unique pathway to build out how they actually interact with the environment. That doesn't always have to deal with damage. You have your classic roles like bards and rogues and
Healers, all that kind of stuff.
However, they don't feel like that. They feel unique to who they are, and I really like that about it. Now, it also has, like you said, the environmental space here on the table, where things like train cars will separate, barrels will shift, environments will change. The puzzle that you're trying to solve is almost unique per encounter.
Absolutely.
And it's really neat how they've taken a very simple, very classic layout and changed the way that you interact with it every single time you're facing someone new. Whether that comes through different terrain types on the board or even just the tokens and the story elements you're interacting with, there's something different that you have to figure out and a different puzzle to win that you have to solve. Now, the other thing, the third thing that's interacting here on the game board is the unique Haints themselves. And they go from a range of creepy and macabre all the way up to kind of sad and disparaging. And you're going to be working to restore their humanity through fairly thematic means. But this can include, like we've said before, dealing straight damage to them, or some puzzles that don't actually have to deal with damage at all. Go down different story pathways or make it to the end of the train before they're actually able to get there.
It really feels like very rarely is it damage that actually matters. It oftentimes is go find this clue here, return this thing to this person. Like, there's crazy
Conduct
pieces.
these various rituals on the train itself, which are conditions that you can meet, and if you do so, you get a benefit. And sometimes those benefits directly tie with solving this puzzle that you've been presented with.
Yeah.
And it sticks to that format really strongly. Now, a few of the other mechanical things that are unique about what's happening here in Vagrantsong is going to be the bag building or bag drawing system. You have a cooperative bag that is full of different items, and both the Haint and yourself will be drawing from this bag to get special abilities. Now, the unique thing is that you can choose how much you want to draw and store those tokens for extra special actions that you can take, but also to limit the degree to which the Haint can hurt you. We have this entire book here that's unique to every single Haint that has 2 different stages of their personality?
Yeah, but like this particular one is this Haint over here is either lonesome or possessed.
Yeah, and what that means is she's either potentially pissed off or potentially okay, and it's not always clear which side is the best for you to be on, depending on how you're engaging with the Haint itself. And throughout the course of the battle, this will potentially shift back and forth multiple times. But they'll be drawing from this bag. This bag will have icons. These icons will trigger reactions depending on which side of their personality they're on. And you either get to decide to engage with this, to store these, to have them on hand, like taking some of the more rare items out of the bag, or you get the opportunity to say, we're going to let chance be chance, and do your core actions, work through your personal player board. You'll each have these little tokens that represent the actions you can take. You'll place them on cards, you'll place them on your movement, you'll place them on their attacks. And every character is unique enough that it's kind of hard to break down exactly what each one does. But there's a lot of different ways you can build out your characters in a very classic RPG feeling style.
Yeah, this concept of getting these different powers and abilities that you can learn as skills, and you can trade them out, use different ones. At the end of each scenario, you have an opportunity to purchase new skills that come through. Sometimes you'll learn them in different situations. It's a really unique way to even make each character more asymmetric than they were to start with.
So, if you're looking for a game that is thematic and story-driven, that deals with things that feel very similar to a dungeon crawl in terms of character progression and the way that the game board transforms and envelops itself, but you enjoy boss battlers, specifically things that give you a neat, unique puzzle to solve every time you're going head-to-head with them, and you're already intrigued in Vagrantsong, this one,
it might be right for you.
It might be right for you. But if you're still here, let's talk about the theme. Yes. Vagrantsong is an insanely thematic game.
Very much so.
And for me, it reminds me of, like, I like to imagine that if you ever watched Over the Garden Wall, one of my favorite TV shows, if you haven't, go check it out. If you have, leave a comment down below. Being said, if you've ever watched that, this reminds me of the old black train that was coming. I like to imagine that that's what was actually on that as it ran down the railroad track.
To me, it reminds me more of like 1930s, 1940s cartoons. Yeah. I think it's very stylized in that regard, and I think it pulls it off really well.
Yeah. So the theme here, the story that you're going through, and we don't really want to spoil anything other than the stuff that the game gives you at the very beginning.
Yeah.
You're vagabonds. You're moving onto this train, and you're dealing with various different Haints. And this does have a story progression that moves from one stage to another. The train starts to transform. The characters that you're encountering sometimes come back into the mix, and you re-engage with elements of them that seem to tie things together. But the core thing here is that you are working, creating seances, going through rituals, and doing your best to restore humanity to a ghost train in all sense of the word. And you're going to be popping back and forth in and out of the ethereal realm yourself, depending on how you actually take damage and how you actually engage with the creatures that you're fighting.
And sometimes that's actually required.
Yeah.
Which is even weirder. Like, the concept is called going westbound. So if you have 0 health left, everything is wounded, then you basically turn your entire card over, and you now become a westbound traveler. And you'll have one special skill that'll be your westbound skill. So you still can do all of these types of basic actions, but you have one special westbound skill. All the rest of them are no longer worthwhile. And someone eventually either has to heal you for it, or if everybody turns westbound, then this scenario is lost.
And like you said, depending on the scenario, sometimes it is advantageous to be westbound, which is a weird,
really
weird
strange
puzzle point. When it comes to theme, Vagrantsong does theme and does story.
Does it
really well.
It does.
If you're compelled, if you're intrigued, if you're into this type of Betty Boop or hose arm type artwork, with a modern twist to it, honestly. It's all very reminiscent of that 1920s, 1930s, but it still has this spin to it, this gloss to it, this perfection to it that makes it still feel adjacent to something like The Darkest Dungeon in a lot of ways. That art style itself.
Yeah.
Chibi-ish, but still feels old, still feels historic. Vagrantsong tells an amazing and a really beautiful story in a lot of ways. And that is probably something worth exploring. So if you love campaign games, and you love campaign games that don't have an overwhelming amount of stuff to read, but have a really solid, really strong narrative through line, Vagrantsong
might be right for you.
It might be right for you. West, I've been talking a lot.
You have.
So let's go ahead. Well, I'm excited about theme.
Which is good.
So I'm going to back off when it comes to accessibility. How accessible is this game? How easy is it to get to the table? What functionality is here that helps you as players play it?
So I think as far as that functionality part goes, how easy is it to get to the table? The minis are fantastic because they're not minis, they're acrylic standees. So you can have a ton of minis in a very small package. I mean, the Vagrantsong box is not a giant box. It doesn't weigh 1,000 pounds. So I think that's really great. The fact that the game board is literally just it's a half of a normal sized game board makes it easier to be able to pull it off of the shelf. All of the different pieces and things, they're relatively easy and very accessible to be able to pull out. The scenario map is extremely easy to see. There's a quick map that shows you exactly what you have to set up. The concept of how to play the game is basically the same from one scenario to the next, but the pieces of the puzzle are different. So how these different coins interact with the actual haint that you're working with, that's always going to be different pretty much every single game, which I think is great. It's one of the things that makes each boss completely different. Every aspect of how they work is totally different. So there's a little bit of thought process and a little bit of catch up that you have to figure out. And I will say occasionally that got a little weird because we would go, wait, is this what this is supposed to do? Is that how this is supposed to happen? So there were some trip ups here or there, but maybe that's just because we're poor readers.
It could be certainly an element of being poor readers. There is a degree of confusion when it comes to things like movement rules and other things that a lot of boss battlers actually have issues with as well.
Sure.
The nuance of the AI sometimes changes, and that change can make it feel weird to play one character versus another when it comes to scenario. I also think with the nature of a campaign game, it's best if you sit down and you have it set up on a table and you're just going to play through it honestly. You get a few months separated from it, and it's harder to get it back to the table. It's easy to remember, but it's harder to remember what the story was and where the narrative through lines were and what kind of character build you were developing. If you were in a very angry, aggressive mood at the time, then you might not feel like the character quite fits your play style when you drop back in and you feel like singing lovely songs and humming the taint to their
lullaby of night.
Despair.
Yeah.
Despair.
But I think overall it's relatively easy to set up. It's relatively easy to get through, and I don't believe that the scenarios are very long depending on your player count. I think player count is definitely something that makes a huge difference. But
so
overall, relatively easy to get to the table.
If you're looking for a respectfully easy, accessible game to play with great iconography, with easy-to-read rule sets, a bit of complexity and confusion when it comes to running the AI, since this is a cooperative game, and a campaign that encourages you or rewards you for playing it through consistently, session after session, Vagrantsong
might be for you.
It might be for you. Let's talk about gameplay, and not how to play, but specifically the elements of gameplay that might make this game right or wrong for certain people.
Turn order. Turn order is very unique in this game, and there is no first player. So anybody could be the first player. It's whatever makes the most sense for who's got the most movement or what our objectives are, who's located where. But that person goes first. Then it is the Haints' turn. And then the next player goes next. And then it's the Haints' turn again. So one of the things that can be confusing is who's done their turn. Now, technically, you're using these coins to set them across here, but you're not supposed to pull those coins until your turn begins, so sometimes that gets a little bit off-putting, but it can take a bit of time if you've got more than 2 people. I felt when we played as a 2-person game, this game was very quick. There was no real confusion there, but when we played as a 4-player game, it bogged down significantly, and sometimes those turns could take, like one round sometimes would take 25 minutes.
Sure. Some other elements of the gameplay that I know have not worked for people in our game group, Shira specifically, is going to be the bag building element. Just that extra little bit of luck, right? And you can control for it to some degree, but sometimes, honestly, you just like rolling the dice, pull the wrong icon, pull the wrong token, cycle through one of these personalities, hit the wrong condition, and you kind of hit a escalating failure moment where things go bad and they just keep going bad.
Yeah.
We've definitely reset scenarios because we ran into a near no-win condition. At least that's what it felt like to us.
Yep.
Now, that wasn't negative. It was necessary for us to learn and figure out the strategy and poke some buttons and explore how cool certain things were. But that did mean that there was a few times where we played through the same scenario multiple times so that we could actually complete it and move forward, instead of just accepting the fact that we weren't
going to get it.
That we ended badly, that we didn't survive, because we wanted to solve the puzzle of each of these scenarios.
Yeah, and I think another thing, we may have kind of sort of talked about it, but each boss is completely different, and I think that's one of the things that makes this really, really unique, is that every single boss plays totally different.
Yeah.
There's very few pieces that connect to one another. Not saying that there aren't story elements that move forward continually, but that, you know, a boss would, maybe one is you can't do anything to this boss whatsoever because you've got to pick up all the tokens, and another time it might be you've got to punch this boss 25 times, and then another time it might be you walk through the boss, or you have to move pieces of chests and things near him so that you get him cornered in one particular location. That puzzle element of each individual boss being unique and different, that was really cool.
It was very cool, but also there's a lot of little story things. There's a lot of things that actually explain that puzzle to you as you start playing the game. And if you don't follow that route, or you get off that track, or you get delayed for some critical reason, like you get thrown down to the end of the train and the token you need to pick up to move the story forward is at the other side,
that sucks.
Could have some time where you're chasing, and some of those times are the times where we ended up just saying, great, I get the story, I get the puzzle it's giving me.
Yep.
Now let's reset and actually do the puzzle right.
Correct.
Some of the things that I think are really strong when it comes to Vagrantsong, when it comes to the gameplay itself, is honestly the way that you actually develop your character. There are so many unique little abilities and triggers, and they all kind of pair and ping off each other. So if you're playing a 2-player game, as you start getting these upgraded skills, as the story starts evolving, you can actually, buy, trade, and equip different abilities to give you the right type of character you want to play as. I've had a lot of fun experimenting and seeing a card come out and being like, oh, that's amazing, I want that on my character.
Yeah.
Or that is a perfect fit for you. And those little pairings don't start to come alive until you're 3 or 4 sessions into the game. But once they really do, and once they really start to shine, there's a lot of depth there and there's a lot of fun there.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to gameplay, if you're looking for a game that introduces some really cool character progression, has very unique boss battles, and specifically gives you the opportunity to manipulate not only the randomness in the game, but also the skill chart that you're going up, this could be right for you. That being said, if you're concerned about a game that might have some feel-bad moments when you're drawing tokens from a bag or rolling dice, introducing randomness, has story elements that require you to interact with them for you to progress the narrative, and might even have situations where you find yourself replaying the same boss battle for the sake of getting it right this time, Vagrantsong may not be the one you want to explore. West Todd,
Yes.
let's go ahead and talk about modes of play. How does this game play? Where does this game play best? Where is it weak? I know you have feelings about this.
I have very, very
so
big
strong.
feelings for this.
Much feelings.
This game plays beautifully at 2. It plays horribly at 4. I will tell you that you need to not play this game at 4.
Okay.
I'd even question playing it at 3. I think it plays beautifully at 2 players. 2 players is absolutely gorgeous.
Solo and 2-player is where I enjoy this game.
Yeah.
And solo I actually play double-handed, so
right.
You have 2 characters. Anyway,
yeah.
I would agree with you. 4 players is not where I want to be with this. I am not as vindictive as you are.
It was bad. I'm straight up. It was bad. 25 minutes for one round to go around, and I mean it was getting so bad that you played on your phone. We had one person actually go lay on the couch and literally fell asleep while everybody else was taking their turns. I mean it fell apart very quickly, and the concept of trying to the player goes, now it's the Haints turn, now it's the player goes, now it's the Haints turn. Okay, well, who hasn't gone yet? I don't remember. Gosh, where are we gonna go? There was so much disorganization in that regard. It felt really clumsy and clunky, and what this game shines at is not being clumsy and clunky. It shines at being sleek, fun, quick movements. And that you don't get that at 3 and 4 players. You only, in my opinion, only get it at 2 players.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a game that we think plays amazing solo 2-player, a campaign game, a couples game, this is there
awesome.
for you.
Yeah.
However, if your normal game group is 3 bridging up onto 4, and you all find that you've enjoyed some campaign games in the past,
skip it.
This one might not work.
This is not right for you.
It slows down a little bit between turns, and definitely doesn't give you as many fun moments as you'd like to have if you're playing at those higher player counts. Yeah. Moving on from modes of play, let's talk about innovation. Is Vagrantsong innovative? If it is, how so? If it's not, does it matter?
So I think there's 2 things that I want to talk about, and you can talk about other things. I really, really like the fact that this is on one board. It's a half-size board. It's super accessible. It's very easy for everybody to get to. And at first, when we sat down and started to play it, I'm like, really, this is the only board we're going to have?
How cool can this be?
This is going to be crap.
Sure.
And it didn't. It felt like a new board every single time. There were, because of the way things laid out, the different things that were happening, the different bosses, the way they interacted with the board, it never felt like the same board. Even, we played it so many times. I really feel like it excelled at that one concept of being just a straight board. The other thing that I will say that I'm hooked 100% on, and that I think every game should do,
acrylic
standees. I cannot tell you how incredibly amazing it is to have these absolutely gorgeous painted acrylic standees. I prefer these over miniatures. This game would not be as good with miniatures, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I am a huge Ameritrash gamer. I want all the standees, I want all the miniatures, I want them all to be painted by professionals, I want it all to be just absolutely beautiful, and to have like 7 boxes of stuff that you throw on the table and let's get it out. This is one box, it's super easy, these standees are beautiful, and they're so varied and intricate and interesting.
The standees are funny for me because the artwork lends itself so well to the characters coming alive through the standees. There are games out there where I think standees would look ugly and miniatures work better because people didn't care about the artwork as much as Weird Games has cared about the artwork here.
That could be true. It could be true because the artwork makes it work. But
any game that has artwork that has been crafted for the sake of the story, I think, honestly, sorry, Darkest Dungeon, Mythic Games could have done, the minis are so cool.
They're beautiful.
But I would have loved to also see that Darkest Dungeon style artwork brought forth into a standee, an acrylic standee version. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, solid screw you to cardboard standees. Not a fan.
Never a fan.
Yeah,
I can't stand
minis
them.
over cardboard every day of the week, but honestly, acrylic potentially almost guaranteed over minis.
Yeah.
I'm there with you.
I was blown away. I thought I was going to hate them, and I absolutely love them. I advocate for them in every game we can possibly have them in. I think these are so well done.
Now, none of those things you listed are necessarily innovative in and of itself. Other games have done acrylic standees. It is a newer thing that Weird is doing here. I don't know that there's any one thing that is innovative. The single board might be bridging on. The fact that there's 20 different scenarios, all of which, through a very few tokens and a storybook, customize this board to feel so vastly unique. That is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
And I don't know of another game that does it quite like Vagrantsong is doing it. I also think the AI system is a pretty neat system, and I don't know that I've seen that implemented in a game either.
Not with
bag building with icon-based tokens that have two different personalities. It's a cool way to run the AI that gives player agency, but also allows for randomness to exist. Usually, AI in these games is ran by a draw of a card or a roll of a die that controls some type of personality.
Sure.
And the bag building here is very nice and very unique. So yeah, I don't know that it is intrinsically. I think it might have some elements of it that are, if not innovative, absolutely feel unique to what it's doing and justify it like being on a shelf next to other bigger box titles that have tons of miniatures and honestly don't even do it quite as well.
No.
So, if you're looking for something that is arguably innovative in a few key and important ways, and whatever the case, feels different and feels better than some of the other bigger boxes you're going to have next to it on the Calyx, Vagrantsong, I mean, ultimately, might be right for you. Might be right for you. A new thing that we're going to be doing at the end of these videos, something that I've added recently, a concept that I've had, something that I think people will be interested in.
Is this going on your shelf?
Opinions, yeah. So, I think it's the whole point of this series is to not give an opinion through the beginning.
Right.
To give our feedback and try to give both sides and give context, but also not layer it with our own opinion.
Sure.
But ultimately, let's talk about Vagrantsong. Is it right for us? Was it right for us and the type of game we play, whether or not it's going to be right for the audience?
So is it specific for me or specific for us together?
No, specific for you and specific for me.
Okay, so this will not be joining my private collection.
Not right for you.
Is not right for me. And,
what was the trigger for that?
The trigger for me was, number one, player count. Because this is, in my opinion, is a two-player game. I don't want to play it solo. It might work for you solo. I have no desire to play it solo.
I like the story so much.
I think that's cool. I enjoy the interaction of playing with another person. The puzzle is deep enough so that two people can play together, and the things that I can't figure out or that I'm not grasping with my slightly flamboyant brain may not have the right answers, but so I can play off somebody else and they can help me figure it out. I feel like that makes sense. But I have zero desire to play it at 1, 3, or 4, like never again. I will literally say no to playing a game which is very, very rare.
It's pretty rare.
It is really rare.
Pretty rare.
But I love the acrylic standees. I would almost own it just for the acrylic standees because I think they're so great. But yeah, this game wasn't for me. I played it multiple times. I enjoyed the two-player versions that we played, but I saw enough for me to go, yep, this has a place. It has an audience that I think is going to absolutely love it. I'm just not that audience.
For myself, I think I've already spoiled. Vagrantsong is not leaving. I will be finishing the campaign. I will be playing through the side scenarios that they're giving me. I'm going to continue exploring Vagrantsong with or without you.
Fair. If it's two-player, we'll play.
I think it's a lovely game, and I've really enjoyed exploring the different modules that it has. I've enjoyed the taking a look at the expansions they've sent our way. I'm in a position where I would begrudge myself for not continuing to explore this story. And I'm such a theme first. I'm such a narrative first player that it's so strong.
It is.
It's more accessible than a lot of my bigger box narrative games.
Yep.
It's got just as strong of a story without as much of the reading.
I agree.
The puzzle is there. It feels different from my boss battlers. It doesn't feel like Townsfolk Tussle. It doesn't feel like Cthulhu Death May Die. It doesn't feel like Kingdom Death. It feels unique unto itself, and that alone means that it's something that I want to continue exploring. So Vagrantsong is absolutely right for me, and it is 100% sticking around. We did miss one category.
Uh-oh, what did we forget?
We missed price.
Ooh.
The last thing that we typically talk about here on the channel, although we're going to end up shifting that ahead and then talk about it if it's right.
Right.
Price point on this. Now, it's very hard to get.
Yeah. I know
very
it'll be
hard
at
to get. Cool.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to get. The price point on this is between $65 and $75. $65 with some of the discounts and sales. There's some stores that run like 3% off or something. 75 is going to be your average price point. And then if you get it on BGG kind of third party, which is the easiest way to get it right now, you're looking probably 80 to 120 plus shipping on top of that.
Yeah.
Sense of that price. You think the value's here when it comes to the game and the gameplay itself, even though it wasn't right for you?
Even though it wasn't right for me, the acrylic, as I said, I keep saying this, acrylic standees are amazing.
Really like them.
I really like them.
Yeah.
And I think that the game itself, there's so much game here that, when you talk about price per play, if this is a campaign that you see yourself playing and that you think you might be interested in, the mechanics sound good to you, the things that we've talked about, man, this is a great game. You should definitely pick it up for that 65 to 75 range. Should you pay the $100 to $125?
Third party?
I don't think it's worth that to me personally. It's not something that I would pick up for that cost, but again, not for me.
So here's my thing. Weird Games has continued supporting Vagrantsong. It's been a big success for them. We're not the first content creator to be talking in a positive fashion around this game. And it has a kind of a cult following to the degree that they have been able to release little side modules that have also disappeared.
Right.
So the fact that it's going to continue getting extra content, that as soon as you own the game, you'll be bought into, you'll be able to continue expanding it. You know that like every 6 months or so, there might be a new module coming out. I think it's one of those that if it's something you will play, is absolutely worth owning within at least a collection. Does every person in your game group need to own it? No. But I think someone in your game group, the other person you'll be playing this with, or yourself, should pick up a copy of this. And I don't know that I agree with you. I think, while I don't always love encouraging buying on the aftermarket, because I want to support the publishers as much as possible.
Sure.
I don't think that $120 price tag is out of this world.
No.
If they know they're going to play it. If they know they're going to table it, I'd narrow it down. That's like $8 to $10 per play.
Yeah.
And for me, every session, every experience I'm having, like if you sat me down and you're like, hey, you can never play a Vagrantsong again unless you pay me $5 per play or $10 per play, I'd still probably play it, another 5 or 10 times.
Sure.
I'd still, over the course of the next year, I might not give you all the money at once.
Yeah.
But, I'd probably chip you $10 here and there to sit down and have a good time.
Do you think they'll end up doing a second printing of it?
Well, I believe they've already had a second printing of this.
So a third printing of it?
This is coming back in stock. They're maintaining, but Good. It also is coming back in stock in limited runs. Weird Games is kind of a weird company. They've got a lot of cool projects. They've got a lot of stuff that's in and outside of the board game space, and they're one of those publishers that probably doesn't want to sit down and invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in a 20,000 print run when they don't know if their market cap is another 3,000 people or another 30. Right? And so I think they keep doing smaller but limited print runs, waiting for those to clear out, which tends to happen very consistently.
Yeah.
And then they place another order. So they keep coming back in stock every 6 months or so pretty consistently. Yeah. Almost every convention I've been to has had some degree of limited stock of Vagrantsong.
Yep.
So that's all right for you, wrong for you. Let us know what you...
Have you played Vagrantsong? What did you think of it? Am I right about the acrylic standees? Because that's the real question here. Every game should have acrylic standees.
Let us know where we messed up. I'll see you later.
If anybody literally says they love this game at 3 and 4 players, they're just liars.
We'll see.
They're liars.
We'll see. Let us know why you love it at 3 and 4 players if you do.
Is it because you like napping in between turns? I feel like that might be.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye.